This podcast is proudly sponsored by Ricochet Exchange, the best way to DCA. Listen to the end of the episode for more information.
Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of Decentralised Talks. Today I have with me Rémi from Alluo. Rémi, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. So I'm Rémi. I'm one of the co-founders of Alluo. I'm a computer scientist by trade. Fell into crypto in late 2013 and then went down the rabbit hole from there. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
No worries. So I have learned about your protocol a while back, and I've done a lot of research into it to understand how it works and what you guys are offering. It would be really helpful if you could give a quick introduction and overview of the protocol, what it does, and how it got started.
Sure. So I think it's important to understand, to preface this by saying that Alluo is more than just a protocol. Alluo, the protocol is part of the products that Alluo does, but it's not the only thing. So Alluo, how did Alluo start? Both co-founders, so my other co-founder is called Didier, and myself have both worked in finance, traditional finance, if you want, for a while. And we've, particularly on the credit side in my first startup. And we both saw, the inequality of access to these financial services. It becomes very difficult if you want to do loans, or if you want to give any sort of financial service to people cross border. And so when that first company, when we exited that first company, we thought about, okay, how can we solve this? And I had personally been in crypto for a while, like I said, and I was like, well, I mean, crypto is a piece of the puzzle. We can help for some aspects. This is how Alluo started at the beginning. It still is actually. The vision of Alluo is to democratize the access to financial services. The protocol that we built is one, like I said, one of the things that helps us do that. On the side of this, we have a decentralized web app. If you go to app.alluo.finance, that's the UI, that's the UI that is meant for maybe more crypto savvy people. So if you know what MetaMask is, and if you have some stable coins and so in ETH, that's really the UI that you should be using. But we also built a mobile app that is really meant for the non-crypto user, or somebody that maybe is used to use Cash App or Revolut, or one of these neobanks fintech companies in Web2. And the idea is that wherever you are, whatever your knowledge of finance or / crypto is, you're able to access the benefits of DeFi via this mobile app. And the mobile app is fully non-custodial, so we don't store any private keys or anything like that behind the scenes. All of it stays on the device, and it interacts directly with the protocol that we built. So when I say directly, I really mean directly. There's no, it doesn't go via a backend and then transactions can be, sniffed or whatever it is. No, it goes straight from the mobile to the blockchain. So to go a bit deeper in the protocol, Alluo, the Alluo protocol is mainly what we call a liquidity direction protocol. So the idea is that Alluo token holders on a cycle of 2 weeks can vote on when to DeFi do the funds that are deposited via either the mobile app or the web app gets invested. So we support anything on Aave, anything on Aave, anything on Harvest, anything on Convex, anything on by default on Curve, and anything on Frax Convex as well. And so the idea is that every 2 weeks, the Alluo token holders go vote on, okay, we want to put 20% of the total capital that was deposited into the mobile app into this Curve pool, and then we want to compound it on Convex, or we want to put another 10% and lock it on Frax Convex, whatever it might be. They do this, and the reason that they do this is because by doing this, they make the difference between the advertised APY. So today in the mobile app and in the web app, actually, it's the same. Alluo promises a 7% return on USD pegged stablecoins. So if it's 7%, if at the back of this liquidity direction that I just explained, the protocol can achieve, let's say, 10% return, then all the people that voted for the profitable strategies, investment strategies, will make the difference between this 7 and 10. So they'll make 3%. So to give you an idea, today the TVL of the USD pool, I think, is around 1.4 million, something like that, USD. We actually just finished the voting cycle, and so there was about $2,000 worth of rewards that were distributed between all the people that voted for the profitable strategies in the last voting cycle. So every 2 weeks, we generate in the USD pool today, we generate about $2,000. I don't know the exact, APY that was, but yeah. Something interesting here is because we're quite heavy in the Curve Convex ecosystem. Like I said, we support Curve, Convex, Frax Convex. Then the rewards that we redistribute to our lockers are in the CVX ETH LP. So, for the DeFi savvy people, this is a pool made of the CVX token and the ETH and WETH. And so the idea here is, our goal is not to leech off protocols like Convex and Curve. We rather participate in the ecosystem. And so a good strategy for somebody that might want, to get involved into the Curve wars and this sort of things would be to, instead of doing it directly, which is quite capital intensive, you could buy Alluo token, vote, and then accumulate every 2 weeks, every voting cycle, some rewards in CVXs directly. So that's the bulk of the protocol. This is what we do. Today we take deposits on Polygon and on mainnet, Ethereum mainnet. But the yield is generated cross-chain, completely decentralized and completely trustless. At no point does somebody have to click buttons to move money around. All of it happens on chain. The funds never leave the chain. Again, all happens on chain. But there's a bunch of additional features on the side where we've integrated with the Superfluid protocol, enabling this interest-bearing token that we give to our users for their deposit to be streamable. And then there's people that have built on top of that even more, with the Ricochet exchange and the DCA product. So yeah, there's starting to be a small ecosystem of things that are built around Alluo. And yeah.
Thank you for explaining what the protocol is and what you guys are doing in regards to the web app and the mobile application. There's a lot of questions that I do want to ask about that, because one thing that surprises me about Alluo is the mobile app. So typically in DeFi and Web3 in general, most people, most devs just end up doing a web app. It's kind of the standard. So going out and making a mobile application and taking in the effort to make that decentralized and permissionless is a great step in a good. It's a good step in a good direction. I think that it helps abstract a lot of the complexity that people usually complain about when interacting with different protocols and products in this space. I do want to touch on something that I read in the documentation for Alluo. So in your mission statement, I guess, one thing that you said is that you are focused on providing access to financial tooling for people all over the globe. That's a very difficult undertaking. I want to know from you, what are some challenges involved in providing access to that tooling, and how do you guys handle those challenges?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a very broad question, but it's a good question. So today there's really, if I wanna summarize this whole thing, there's really 3 products that Alluo provide. A high interest current account, if you want to think about it in traditional terms, 7% on US dollars. An investment product, which is enabled either via DCA or via our Ethereum or Bitcoin farms. And then obviously money transfers, again, either via streaming and Superfluid, or the ability to directly send money from one place to another on chain, using the mobile app. So these are, what I would consider 3 different products, the 3 first products, I guess, of the Alluo protocol, Alluo ecosystem in general, let's say. these are pretty traditional. So, anywhere in the world, whoever you are, you can, you need these. It doesn't matter if you're really rich or if you're really poor. Anybody needs these kind of services. Now, when you go into more exotic services like lending, mortgages, I don't know, derivatives, and so on and so forth, it becomes quite difficult to standardize this. So, to make it the same for somebody that lives in a developing country and somebody that lives in a developed country with with a well-established financial system. And so really this is a big challenge for us is, what can we build that is as useful for somebody in London with, an established bank account and easy access to loans and other, more challenging financial services as somebody that lives in, I don't know, Central Africa and, doesn't have even a bank account and deals with mobile money and so on and so forth. So that's really, I guess, a challenge for us is how what works for everyone. Because, you summarize our mission statement quite well. It's access to financial services, access to financial tools. We don't want to build something that works only for one set of people. We want to build something that really works for anybody that uses the app. And so that's quite difficult. I guess that's challenge number one.
So using the Alluo application, I noticed that there aren't really any minimum deposits or minimum withdrawals, which I like a lot. The fact that I can go in with however much I want and exit with however much I want, and I can do this pretty much immediately. It feels a lot safer than the usual yield farming services that I've seen in Web3. And I kind of want to talk about the yield farming in particular, because that's something that I'm very the risk of that from everything that's happened over the last year or two. It used to stress me out, and I feel like I'm learning how to be more okay with it and understand it better. And the knowledge that I've gained through reading the docs and interacting with the protocol has helped a lot. Can you maybe walk me through how do you guys deal with the risk of yield farming? How do you keep your customers or your clients safe? And what are you doing moving forward to mitigate those issues?
Yeah, so, I think the right word here is abstraction with the ability to have transparency. It's a difficult concept, but, yield farming, like you said, first of all, is very difficult to keep on top of. Curve pool go out of balance all the time. Yields, promised yield goes up and down. It's like if you really want to be an efficient yield farmer, you can't do it with $100. You need to have thousands of dollars. You need to really look at it all the time. It needs to be, it's quite challenging. It's something that I guess some people are very good at, but it's almost a whole job. And so the way we look at it is, okay, it doesn't have to be. These people that love this and are really into it and look at all these farms all the time. What if we pay them for managing other people's money, which is somewhat what Alluo does. We promise a 7% return. That 7% is guaranteed for one voting cycle, i.e. 2 weeks. And then the people that vote, the Alluo token holders, are usually people that have a vested interest into making sure that the protocol is profitable. Because if they vote for a pool that doesn't achieve the advertised APY, their staked in Alluo token that was used to vote is going to get liquidated enough to make up for the difference in yield. So these people that vote are usually people that understand DeFi really well, are looking at curve pools and are making sure that pegs are maintained and so on and so forth. And I guess they provide this service in a decentralized manner to everybody that deposits money into the protocol. One thing that I want to make sure comes across is that, again, this is all transparent. So it's not like what people used to do with Celsius or with BlockFi, deposit the money there, it goes in a black box, and then you hope that you'll get it out. Clearly that didn't work. This whole voting process, execution of the vote, where the funds invested, all of that is verifiable on chain. using standard tools. So you can go on Zapper and check where is the deposits in the IP Alluo USD pool, where are they making yield, and so on and so forth. So there's nothing that ever needs. If you want to understand it, and this is why at the beginning I said it's there's a transparency aspect element. If you want to verify where your money is earning yield, you can. And if somebody in the community sees that something is going wrong, they can pull their money out and not be exposed to any challenges. So yeah, that's I think the idea here is to let people who are really good at this make the decision to people who are less good at it or just don't have the time or don't want to bother with it, sort of thing. So yeah.
So from what I heard, just to repeat that and to make sure that I understood this correctly. So the way you guys are handling the risk and the difficulty of yield farming is by taking the responsibility of maintaining this for the customers who would want to do this anyway. And you're making it easier for them to understand where everything's going by providing them all the access to all of the information, which is something that, again, Celsius did not do in the past. So I looked at Celsius a couple of months before it went down, and I was kind of interested in trying it out. I didn't end up doing it, but when it fell apart, a lot of people that I knew in my community actually invested in it, and they lost a lot of money. So that kind of threw me off, and it made me a lot more conservative with how I want to interact with these kind of products. Going through the documentation for Alluo, I saw that pretty much everything is written in the documentation, and the code for everything is available to audit and see. And I like that. I like the fact that I could read every step and I could figure out how the withdrawals work, what the like the vote locked Alluo token, how the governance works. And I feel like that is a very reassuring thing. And I'm really glad to see you guys do that. There's something that was interesting that you mentioned is how the protocol users are able to lock their tokens, the Alluo tokens, and they're able to vote on the yield percentage. And if they vote for a yield percentage that is not like satisfiable, it can't actually be paid out. You liquidate the holders, their locked tokens, to make everybody whole. And if they vote on a percentage that is actually doable, whatever you guys make extra gets distributed to the Alluo token holders that voted and locked their funds. Did the protocol start off like this, or was this something that developed over time?
I mean, the idea was always there. It was always, we always wanted to do this from the start. It's something that's technologically very challenging to do. We've built, if you go on library.alluo.com, you can see the list of all the contracts that, we have deployed and that are needed to make this whole affair works. It is a lot of code. It's, over 100,000 lines of code. So it's something that, took a while to be fully deployed and fully developed, but it's something that from the start we wanted to do, that's for sure.
So that makes sense. So are there more parts of the governance and the tokenomics that you're willing to get into, just to introduce people to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, we can go into any amount of detail. A piece that we've looked at and we deployed quite recently was this cross-chain mechanism. So, like I said at the beginning, most of our deposits are actually on Polygon. So, people send USDC or WETH or WBTC to the Alluo farms on Polygon. But today, if you look at the yield, most sustainable yield is actually generated on mainnet. And so there was a piece of work here that we had to do where, okay, how do we make sure that the funds are bridged between Polygon where they're deposited and mainnet where the yield is generated in a way that doesn't rely on core contributors or the DAO to function or things like that. And so we've used a combination of any core to send messages between smart contracts on Polygon and on mainnet, and the UMA optimistic protocol and the across bridge to actually move the funds to make this happen. It's again something very challenging to do, and I don't know of maybe I know of one protocol that actually has implemented a fully decentralized and transparent, cross-chain project like this. So yeah, that was an interesting piece of work. I think we published a blog about it. Again, it's all explained in the documentation if people want to go even more into detail. But yeah, that was quite interesting to build, and I guess a lot of people messaged us afterwards because they were quite impressed with it. So yeah.
Do you guys intend on putting up your services on more chains, or is the Matic chain, the Polygon chain, what you are focusing on at the moment?
That's a question we get often. It really depends which part of the protocol we're talking about. So the way we think about it is that there's a deposit side of the protocol, people being able to deposit with Alluo coins or even volatile assets. And that's fairly simple for us to deploy on side chains. So we could, deploy this whole deposit process on Phantom or whatever. If it's an EVM chain, I would say in less than a week. But then there's the whole yield generation side of thing with the governance and all of that. That is a huge piece of work if we had to migrate to another chain. So I think because basically the tools to do this whole governance are really developed on Ethereum mainnet and not on other chains. So I think the yield generation side and the governance side will probably stay on Ethereum mainnet for now. The ability to deposit stablecoins or volatile assets from another chain, like let's say Phantom, into the protocol, that might be something that comes, let's say Q2, maybe end of Q1, Q2 of this year. So yeah.
That leads me to ask, what are you guys trying to do in the future? Or is there anything that's currently in the works? And where do you see Alluo going over the next, let's say maybe the next year?
Oof. That's a very big question as well. I think right now Alluo is very focused on getting ready for an audit and cleaning things up. We feel like V1 of the protocol is in a good place. We can now, all the functionalities that we wanted to have for V1 are now there. Everything works pretty fine. I mean, we've gone through, I don't know, I think 15 governance rounds, something like that altogether. So we're fairly confident with how things are working. But there's still a huge piece of work that will probably take the core team as it is another 6 months or so to clean things up, improve our technical documentation, add comments to the code, and get ready for a full-scale audit. So that's a lot of what we'll do internally. I don't foresee many new big features coming to the protocol. Things that we'll keep working on, and they're always at the forefront of what we do is adding new investment strategies. So I mentioned a few protocols here: Aave, Curve, Convex, and so on and so forth. Recently we added Frax Convex. I think it's a Convex fork from the Frax team. That is something that we'll keep working on. A new DeFi, if a new DeFi protocol comes along and has great yield and it's sustainable, we'll build strategies for this. This is, by the way, something that we welcome any contributor out there that have some knowledge and solidity and might want to direct some liquidity from the Alluo protocol into their DeFi protocol to look at. We have a great tutorial on how to deploy new investment strategies and how to propose votes and so on and so forth. So that's probably something that we'll keep working on. And yeah, I think that's the plan really for the next 6 months. On the mobile app and the web app side of things, the idea is to keep bringing these to a central point. So like I said at the beginning, the web app today is still very focused on on crypto users, and the mobile app is on non-crypto users. Would like both of them to be accessible for both end users. So there's a lot of UX work and there's a lot of feature management to do to bring these two together. And so yeah, that's probably on the UI side of things and the front end side of things. That's probably what we'll be focused on in the next 6 months. So yeah, sorry, no great alpha for you today, but
I
but
actually
yeah.
kind of one thing that is pretty exciting is that you guys added dollar cost averaging into your web app. I'm not necessarily
Yes.
sure if it's on the mobile app. I'm a user of the web app. So what was the reasoning behind adding dollar cost averaging? Because that's something that we also work at with Ricochet Exchange and with Superfluid. So I kind of want to know how you guys got there.
Yeah, so I mean, the DCA product that we have on our web app, I think it's called Invest on the web app, is the Ricochet Exchange product. So we didn't rebuild it; we built the UI on top of the Ricochet Exchange. We've worked with you and with Mike at Ricochet to make that happen, and we're really happy to have that. The idea was, to expand the number of products that we offer to our customers. Again, in the vision that we have, access to financial services, democratize access to financial services, an investment product is super key. And DCA has been proven to be the most sustainable and profitable way to invest into blue chip products like Ethereum, like Bitcoin. So we felt like it was the right play for our users to allow them to DCA into these assets. Of course, we're focused on using DCA with the rest of the protocol. And so what we've made available through our web app is DCA using the interest-bearing token of Alluo. And so that gives you the most capital efficiency ever, because you're earning yield on the capital that is being DCA'd into, let's say Ethereum. And as soon as you've DCA'd into Ethereum, you're earning yield on the Ethereum side of things as well. So there's really no capital there that's not working at any one point. The thinking was really, how can we offer a innovative and I guess sustainable investment product to our users, and DCA was just an obvious choice. It is not in the mobile app just yet. What's in the mobile app is the ability to stream payments, but I think that's something that will come fairly soon. That will come fairly soon. The ability to DCA into the mobile app.
I've been using DCA as an investment strategy for the last 6 months up to maybe a year, and I recently switched over from DCAing just from USDC to BTC to the Alluo tokens because, well, first there's the decreased fee. So at least in Ricochet Exchange, there's a lower fee for streaming the Alluo tokens. And then the other thing is the getting yield on both sides of the, so on the stream in and stream outside. And after reading the documentation, I feel much more comfortable doing that. There was a while where I was a bit hesitant, and I think we discussed this with what happened with Celsius and BlockFi and all the different services that fell apart. So it's been a really good experience for me. What I want to know is, so you guys developed a mobile app to target people who are less crypto savvy. Did that increase your use by a significant amount? I would imagine it's harder to find mobile app developers that are also knowledgeable about blockchain. And I wonder if the effort is worth it for other DAOs, or if this is something that you are still working on improving.
I mean, look, mobile app development is a whole different ball game. It is something that is very challenging to build. To be perfectly honest, I don't know of any. Maybe Argent, I think, is the only one mobile app that talks directly to the blockchain in a sustainable way. In a way that is like easy for the end user. It's very, very difficult. You have to implement stuff like meta transactions and gas management, and where and how do you store private keys, and how do you sign transactions? Like all of these are like security concerns that you need to be very cautious about. So I mean, mobile app development on its own is challenging, but then if you add on top of that the challenges of interacting with the blockchain, it just compounds the difficulty. So to be honest, I mean, for us, it was an obvious choice. How do most people in the world interact with their financial provider, whether it be in developing countries or in developed countries, via a mobile app, not via a web app. So it was an obvious choice for us to go at this at the start. But it's difficult. We've got two teams that are really that are separate, but working together when they need to, between the mobile app devs and the smart contracts / Solidity devs. So these guys that work on the mobile app don't necessarily need to know much about the blockchain because they're being guided, I guess, on the blockchain side of things by the Solidity devs. So that makes it, I guess, a little bit simpler, but it is still quite challenging. So yeah.
Thanks for answering. I think it's definitely the right move. People in different DAOs are now discussing how to actually build a mobile app and make it usable, because it is the way that most people are ultimately going to interface with finance. I don't
Yeah.
I don't see people that are like not very technically savvy using MetaMask and managing all these
No,
different
exactly.
pieces. It's a problem because one of the biggest complaints in crypto and the Web3 world is like user experience. And I feel like a lot of the web apps that are being built by, I guess, back-end first people who it's kind of like utilitarian versus trying to build out a user journey that makes sense and that can guide somebody through the entire process of maybe starting a wallet, getting their first tokens. So it's good to see you guys doing that. I really hope to see where it goes. I'm gonna download the app and see how that experience is. I want to have a couple. I have a couple of questions related to, I guess, managing this DAO and managing the building process. How do you guys hire? What is the process of hiring and maintaining the application? Hiring people to build out and maintain the application.
Yeah, I mean, everything we do internally is open source. So there's actually no internal or external. Whether it be the protocol side or the web or the UIs, everything is open source. And so this is, not because, I don't know, we want to be different. This is really because it is, in my opinion, a better approach to software development. But by being open source, it has also attracted a lot of people to help and to work with us on the protocol, on the website, on many things. So to give you an example, today I think 4 contributors, so people that their job day in day out is to work on Alluo, is probably around 25, something like that. And not majority, but a good portion of them found Alluo independently, as in they were not, recruited by us. They, found the protocol, maybe did a few pull requests on the GitHub, and worked with us like this for a while. And then after some time, we just went to them and be like, look, if you're spending so much time on this, you want to do this full time and actually get a salary from the DAO and so on and so forth. And so far, a lot of them have said yes. So by having this open source approach, we've attracted, I guess, talent. We have recruited people. We have gone out and recruited some people. What matters to us first is for people to be invested. But when I mean invested, when I say invested, I don't mean only financially, but also to have the same to agree with the vision and so on and so forth with what we do. And so that's the most important thing for us is working with people that are not seeing this as just a 9-to-5 job, but seeing this as a real mission. And so yeah, that's the most important thing for us. But managing a DAO is very challenging. There is a lot of complexity in how do you manage treasury and how do you make sure that everybody has the right incentives and so on. And so we've been very, again, all the money that the DAO has is on chain, and all the management happens on chain. There's nothing that is done off chain. So we're taking this transparent approach first, and then if there is anything to be explained, we have no problem explaining it, but at least if somebody wants to figure out what's happening, they can always look at it, and nothing is private sort of thing. But that's no traditional way of running organizations / companies. So it comes with its challenges, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I do think the open source works, and it works pretty well, because it eliminates this process of, like you said, going out and searching for people and then making sure that they are compatible with the vision. You could see that through the way that they participate in
Exactly.
in the contributions. So last question that I want to ask, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. What are some tools that you are using to manage all of these different aspects, like the DAO? So I know that you guys use Dwork for putting up bounties and small contributions that need to get done on the app. So like maybe Gnosis Safe. What are some things that you're using to manage the DAO?
So we use Gnosis Safe for the treasury management. So Gnosis holds all the money that the DAO has for its operational purposes and so on. We have a Gnosis on mainnet, on Ethereum mainnet, a Gnosis on Polygon. All the Gnosis have are multi-sigs and require multi-sigs to move any sort of money. There's also an operational multi-sig that is managed by some of the core contributors. So there's a much smaller budget in there, but this speeds up the process. Sometimes the DAO just needs to pay bills a bit faster. And so there's a little bit of money in this operational safe, and that can be moved with only one signature of a core contributor. But that's a very small amount of money. It's less than 1% of the total treasury. So that's for, I guess, money management. For decision making, we use Snapshot. So Snapshot is a semi-on-chain voting tool that allows people to vote with their locked Alluo token, without having to pay for gas and so on and so forth. And that's really all you need. The liquidity direction, all of this, we built it ourselves. So it's our own protocol with our own UI, the web app. There's a few GitHub scripts that are used in combination with Gelato Network Resolver. That are used to execute some recurrent actions or actions on some on some set triggers. And yeah, I think that's it. We use Biconomy for a lot of this is more operational stuff rather than management of the DAO, but for paying for the transactions of the users. Again, in this effort of trying to make financial services accessible to anyone, we believe that gas is even in Polygon where it's very cheap, it's still a big inconvenience because you need to understand this concept of gas. And so rather than expose the users to this, the DAO pays for the gas of all its users using Biconomy. And so Biconomy is implemented the meta transaction standard. So yeah, what else do we use? Communication, both for the core contributors and for I guess the rest of the communities on Discord. Dwork for managing the development process, and we are coming out very soon with an Immunify bug bounty program. So today we've managed our bug bounty program on Dwork. It's not super appropriate for this, so we've decided to move away from it. We've tried a few tools, but Immunify seems to be really the best one. So yeah, soon we'll have a Immunify bug bounty program up and running as well.
That's a lot of good advice. Because if you want to manage a DAO, these tools that you're discussing, I feel Biconomy is something that is unique to Alluo. Obviously, other DAOs probably use it as well, but it's the first time I've seen it. I think it's a good idea. Sometimes it has its drawbacks, but I still think it's worth it.
Of course.
There's one thing that I could see being better in at least in the web app. So if I come in fresh and I don't necessarily have any funds on Polygon, I need to be able to purchase like some USDC somehow. And I think that I'm not sure if you guys have it and I haven't seen it, but that process of getting the first amount of tokens that I want to use to either test out the protocol or like invest, it's a hard process for a lot of people. So that's something I would love to see in the future, if there's any plans for something like that.
Yeah. So the integration with an on and off ramp. I mean, we were integrated with MoonPay as an on and off ramp. To be perfectly honest, we were very disappointed by how MoonPay works. So it's very expensive, it's time consuming, it sometimes doesn't work. Anyways, it's really not a great experience for the end user. And so, rather than expose our user to this pretty crap experience, we've decided to just remove it completely from the UI. That doesn't mean that there won't be an on and off ramp integrated within the Alluo web app or the Alluo mobile app. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that there will be one, but it will be much more streamlined than it was on previously, and than it is in general as a standard in Web3.
I understand. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I've been frustrated with MoonPay. I liked Ramp a lot in the past. It's been a while since I used it, but that was a very good experience in my opinion. Like it just takes you through the process pretty easily. There isn't that heavy KYC that MoonPay makes you do, which I find to be like it's a long process. It's prone to failure. It's pretty bad UX. But yeah, so that's pretty much the only thing I can think of and how to improve as somebody that uses the app. But thank you so much again for taking the time to have this conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot. I hope people at home listening learned something. I'm going to add the links to Alluo and all of the and the Discord server in the description of the podcast episode, as well as like just a description of what you guys are doing. If you guys that are listening want to, please check it out. I think it's definitely worth the effort to try and learn how to use this. And again, thank you, Rémi.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Invest smarter, not harder. Ricochet Exchange helps you dollar cost average into cryptocurrencies, including ETH and Bitcoin. By dollar cost averaging, you increase your potential returns and reduce market volatility. It is an easy way to invest, and it is mostly automated. All you need is a cryptocurrency wallet like MetaMask and Coinbase, and you can connect to Ricochet Exchange. The links will be in the description. You can start a stream to any of the tokens. If you need support or help, you can contact me directly, and my links will be in the description. Thank you for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.